I think I found the perfect Game Boy, and I'm gonna show you today. Well, hi everybody, TechTheWeeb here. So, this is my Game Boy. When I was a kid, way back in the 1990s, I freaking love this thing. My bus ride to school was almost an hour and a half each way, so I had lots of free time to draw, read comics, and of course, play with my Game Boy. I had the whole setup. The Game Boy, the light, the magnifier attachments, a carrying case that held all my games, rechargeable battery pack. I even had that stupid camera thing. I was so cool, you guys. So cool. You have no idea. In fact, I love the Game Boy so much that I made it part of my avatar. See? I have some great memories of a ton of great games. I'll talk about my favorite games in a bit, but I want to talk about playing Game Boy games today, because as amazing as this thing was, for the time, it's pretty terrible by today's standards, to be honest. I mean, it's heavy as heck. The screen, well, it sucks, right? It's so bad. The technology has come a long way since then. We have amazing displays on our phones and watches and microwaves, and old LCDs like the one in this Game Boy don't hold up very well in this crazy future world we live in. But that shouldn't stop us from appreciating the Game Boy for what it was. It was an incredible achievement and a piece of technological art from a bygone era. And certainly we shouldn't stop loving Game Boy games and playing them on devices that bring back that retro nostalgia, to help us escape our overly connected, notification-burdened techno-meta reality and take us back to a simpler time, when a beautiful chunk of plastic and AA batteries and some game cartridges was all you needed to pass the time on the school bus instead of doing your homework or reading like a normal person. So, my ever-long quest has been to find the perfect device to play old Game Boy games. Because here's the thing, you can play Game Boy games on anything. Seriously, any Android phone or old computer or tablet can play Game Boy games. You can buy devices that cost less than $20 and you'll be up and running with every Game Boy game in existence. But what I've been after isn't just any old way to play Game Boy games. I want the real experience. I want a device that looks like a Game Boy and plays Game Boy games perfectly. And the original Game Boy, while beautiful and interesting as a piece of history, let's be honest here. It's heavy, it's huge, it's clunky, the screen is tiny, and it just sucks playing games on this thing. So, moving ahead in time, the Game Boy Advance was an amazing system, obviously for playing GBA games, but it did play original Game Boy games too. Of course, it's pretty stupid looking with those huge gray cartridges sticking out the bottom, and the screen was way better than the original Game Boy, obviously, but it's not super impressive compared to the screens we have on our devices these days. Now, the PowKiddy V90 that I checked out recently definitely fits the bill when it comes to the screen. Look at this huge, bright, beautiful IPS display. This is an amazing device, especially considering that it's only 40 bucks. I did a review of this guy on my channel. I'll include a link in the description below. This thing plays Game Boy games like a champ. But here's the problem. It doesn't look like a Game Boy. It looks like a Game Boy Advance. And while the Game Boy Advance is an amazing system with amazing games, it's actually my favorite retro system, to be honest. It's not a Game Boy. It's a clamshell Game Boy Advance. And like I said, we're not looking for just any device that plays Game Boy games here. We're looking for something that looks the part too. So as far as Game Boy games go, we might as well throw this thing in the garbage. Then one day, Boris, my friend from Russia, he gave me this thing. He said, "Here it is Game Boy for you to play Game Boy games." And that sure was nice of him. And look, it looks like a Game Boy. It's smaller and black, but it has that retro Game Boy look to it. And the screen is decent enough, but here's the problem. It plays Game Boy Advance games, not Game Boy games. It's not a fancy handheld. I don't even know what brand it is. Only about 2/3 of the Game Boy Advance games play properly on it. But it's not the worst thing in the world. I figured if I could get a way to play Game Boy games to work on this thing, it would be great. And I did! I found a program called GBA that lets you compile Game Boy games as GBA ROMs that you can run on GBA devices. So I fired up my favorite game to test, Burger Time, and look at that, it works. So let's try some other games. Mario? Oh, Tetris? Okay, not bad. Oh. Oh dear. Some games work okay, some don't. So this thing looks the part, but it's not gonna do the job for us. Not at all. Now there's other devices that sorta look like a Game Boy. At least they have the same configuration with the screen on top and the buttons front facing below. This is the LDK, my most powerful handheld, and probably my favorite to be honest. At least for now. I'm gonna be doing a review of this thing on my channel real soon, so get subscribed if you want to see more of this thing. It's really great. I love the form factor. You could shove this thing in your pocket and have a great portable emulation system wherever you go. I got no complaints with the screen or the size or shape or the performance. It plays tons of systems perfectly, including Game Boy, obviously. I could be very happy playing Game Boy games on this thing, but still, part of me knows this isn't what I've been looking for. I want something that looks like a Game Boy. I need that nostalgia factor. So, sorry LDK, you do lots of things really great, but you just don't look like a Game Boy. So you can go to hell for all I care. I was worried that I'd never find the perfect Game Boy, but then the video game gods smiled upon me and answered my prayers. I think I finally found it, and I'm pretty sure my search has ended. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the new BITTBOY. Have you ever seen a more perfect little Game Boy handheld? Look at those beautiful retro curves that mimic the original Game Boy, right down to the grippy texture in that elegant gray plastic. It plays NES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, SNES, Sega Mega Drive, Sega Master System, PC Engine, Neo Geo, and of course Game Boy. And of course it looks like a little bitty Game Boy, exactly what we've been looking for. So tonight I'm gonna give you the grand tour, show you how it works and how it runs. Then I'm gonna show you my top 10 favorite Game Boy games running on this little guy. And spoiler alert, it is perfect for playing Game Boy games. Oh my god, I think I love it, you guys. So first up, here's the tour. The price tag is, get this, 30 bucks. This bad boy has a 2.4-inch IPS display with tempered glass, 700 MHz processor. Going around the device, we have a nice D-pad and face buttons. I'm not a button snob, but I hate crappy buttons, and I have no complaints here. Obviously, 4 face buttons and no shoulder buttons, so it plays GBA games no problem, but there will be some SNES games and other games that need those extra missing buttons, so they won't work, unfortunately. I personally don't care at all about SNES games on a device like this, to be honest. There's a function button for accessing the menu, and you can use it as a hotkey to change the volume up and down, micro SD card expansion to easily manage your files and games, and around the back we have a 700 mAh replaceable battery, micro USB port for charging, and a headphone jack so you can plug this into your stereo and blast those Game Boy sounds super loud until your mom tells you to stop being a weirdo and turn that crap off. Let's move on to the software on the new BITTBOY. I did update this with some custom firmware. It adds a bunch of new emulators, updates to existing emulators, extra ports and other apps and stuff. It was very easy. Just need to download an image, flash to the SD card, and then it'll install right on the BITTBOY. I'll include a link below to the updated firmware. So now when I boot up, I get a fancy little logo splash screen, and here we are. If you're new to these devices, it's basically there's a menu with categories on the side. We have apps, emulators, ports, and the system. There's a few basic apps, a file browser, and a bunch of techie stuff in there if you know what you're doing. I certainly don't. I'll get to the emulators in a sec. Over here we have some ports. There's a bunch of old PC games that'll run on this thing. They all come with the shareware versions installed. Some newer stuff in here too. Doesn't interest me, to be honest, but if you're bored and you want to poke around, there's probably some hidden gems in there. And under system, we have the settings, and you can change the skin and the layout of the menus, and there's a power button there that lets you safely power off the device, because you might corrupt the memory card if you just flip the power switch without doing it through the settings first. Alright, on to the emulators. I'll quickly scroll through everything that's on the custom firmware. But pretty much all these have extra options to change: the screen scaling, the filtering, save states, options for sound and system stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm really sorry about the filming of the screen. It doesn't look that great in the video. The screen itself, it really does look amazing. I'll get the hang of filming screens someday soon. I'm just filming this on my phone, so sorry for the quality. Now, I could show you all these emulators, show you what runs well, what doesn't, but that's not why we're here, to be honest. This video's already way longer than it should be, and we haven't even gotten to the Game Boy games yet. And that's why we're here, right? We're here because this is an amazing Game Boy. So, real quick, here's some NES. And here's some Game Boy Advance. And some Super NES. That's some Sega. And obviously everything under those systems will run just fine, with a few rare exceptions. Not everything runs great, but lots of stuff does. And everything, you know, under those systems will run probably fine, with a few exceptions. Now here's some MAME. And here's some PS1. Anything above the SNES era will be pretty hit or miss. There's some hacks and tweaks you can do to get things running better, so you can play around. Maybe you can get some things working well. Honestly, I couldn't care less about playing PS1 on this little thing. It's the same with MAME, although, you know, it did run pretty good. If I'm gonna play those, I'm gonna want to play them on a more powerful device or on the big screen. Oh hey, maybe I'd use the Super Console X Pro. That's a great retro console for your TV. I did a review of that one recently, so check that out in the videos linked below. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's move on to the main event. Game Boy. This thing is such a Game Boy, it's ridiculous. Obviously it's a tiny mini Game Boy, but the screen is about the same size as the original, and it's small enough to basically live in your pocket. It's super light. It has the same retro aesthetic as the original fatty Game Boy, but in a tiny portable size. Nobody would look at this thing and think anything other than Game Boy. That's what it looks like. And to me at least, that's what this thing is for. It's for playing Game Boy games. It plays them great, and it looks the part. It's a double whammy. That's why I'm so super happy that I found this thing, because I love playing old Game Boy games. There's something about the games from that era. There was obviously lots of good, quick, fun games to play on the go, but there were lots of deeper games that you could get lost in. The Game Boy was the first really big popular portable game console, and it existed in an era where video games were just kinda coming into their own. Playing these old Game Boy games is like a history lesson in video game design. The oldest Game Boy games look and play different than the newest Game Boy games. Lots of games on older systems like the NES or the arcade got new updated Game Boy versions with extra features that made them more modern. In many ways, the Game Boy is the first time that portable games were given the spotlight that they deserve. And the developers that made games for the Game Boy were the pioneers that invented portable gaming as we know it today. And the influence of the Game Boy games can still be felt in modern portable games today. Okay, that's enough gushing about Game Boy games. I'm gonna showcase this device by showing you some quick gameplay from my top 10 Game Boy games. This is my personal top 10. I'm not trying to say these are the best games ever. I know there's lots of amazing games out there, and I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. What are your favorite Game Boy games? I promise I'll try every one you suggest. Anyway, without further ado, we'll start with my number 10. Gremlins 2, the new batch. This game isn't amazing. Heck, now that I've played it 30 years later, it's not even good. But it's special to me because it was the first game that I had for the Game Boy. I love the movie, Gremlins 2. That movie was freaking awesome. The game, not as awesome. But when I think of wasting time on my criminally long bus ride to school playing games on my Game Boy, the first game I think about is Gremlins 2. Number 9, the Game & Watch Gallery. The Nintendo Game & Watch series of portable games was pretty big when I was a kid. Some kids at school had them. I never did. But I didn't care, because when I got Game & Watch Gallery for the Game Boy, I got 4 Game & Watch games in one package. Not the best games in the world. I think we can all agree on that. But they're kind of cute and silly, and they're fun to experience as a part of history. This was the first game compilation that I ever owned. Number 8, Star Trek The Next Generation. Okay guys, I'm gonna make a confession here. I was a Trekkie. I was a Star Trek nerd. My first girlfriend got me into Star Trek The Next Generation. It was my favorite show. I can't believe I'm about to admit this. I went to a Star Trek convention. I knew all about the Starship Enterprise, all the races of aliens, all the stuff from the show is in this game. You fly around space, doing missions, you're maintaining your ship. This was another game that I spent so many hours of my young life playing. It had to make my list. Number 7, Double Dragon. My uncle had Double Dragon on his computer. I used to play it when I went to visit him, and then I got it for the NES, and I loved it there, so I was really excited to get it for the Game Boy, to play some good old Double Dragon on the go. Not an amazing game looking back, but little tech dweeb loved him some Double D. And number 6 is Donkey Kong. This one I didn't discover until later in life, when I had the Game Boy Advance. I always loved Donkey Kong. I had it and Donkey Kong Jr. on the NES, so I wasn't interested in getting another copy of what I thought was the same game for my Game Boy. But when I was a teenager, I got a copy of the Game Boy Donkey Kong for a few bucks at a used game store, tossed it into my GBA for a laugh, and I was hooked. It is so much better than the original Donkey Kong. It's like a whole different game. There's a map with lots of themed levels and new gameplay mechanics. To this day, this is one of the Game Boy games I play the most. You gotta give it a try. Number 5 is Final Fantasy Legend 3. My uncle got me into role-playing games. I didn't care about them when I was a little kid, but he basically forced me to play Dragon Warrior on the NES because he thought I'd like it. And he was right. I fell in love with RPGs and I really wanted a portable one for my Game Boy. My Nintendo Power magazine subscription told me that this game was the best role-playing game on the Game Boy. So I asked for it for Christmas and I loved it. I don't think I beat the game, but I came close, I think. I've been thinking about replaying this game and actually beating it this time. Adult Tech Dweeb is 10 times the RPG super gamer that little Tech Dweeb was. I'm sure I'd love it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do it. This is my vow to you. I'm gonna play through and beat this game on my new BITTBOY. Number 4 is Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. I loved Mario when I was a kid, obviously. Every little gamer dweeb did. I had the original Super Mario Land, and then I got Wario Land, and they were both great games, if a little bit unconventional as far as Mario games go. But Super Mario Land 2 was the first Mario game on the Game Boy that felt like a true, proper Mario game. It felt more like the Super Nintendo Mario World. If you like Mario games or side-scrollers, this is a no-brainer. This is the one. Number 3, Mega Man 5. I was a huge Mega Man fan. Definitely one of my favorite series on the original NES. I played them all, especially 3. That's my all-time favorite. But I wasn't super into the Mega Man games on the Game Boy. That wasn't until Mega Man 5 came along. See, the other Mega Man games on the Game Boy, Mega Man 1 to 4, were pretty much redone versions of the same Mega Man games that I played on the NES. But Mega Man 5 was the first one that was totally new. And sure, Mega Man games aren't all that different to begin with, but it was more of that awesome Mega Man action that you know and love. Good old jumping, shooting, weird robot creatures and beating bosses so you could steal their powers to beat other bosses. And you'll die a lot because they're tough as heck. Number 2, Zelda Link's Awakening. Here's another one that I didn't play until later in life, and I was so regretful that I didn't get it when I was a kid, because it was so good. It's a bold statement, but this might be my favorite Zelda game. Probably the one I enjoyed the most, even if it's not the best. It's either this or Phantom Hourglass on the DS. Link's Awakening really is the best of the old school retro pixel art Zelda games though, in my opinion. It's usually overshadowed by Link to the Past, which was really amazing too, but Link's Awakening really doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. I love the story being, washed up on a desert island and a weird thing with the fish and the egg. The gameplay was really solid. It felt like a good old top-down Zelda game, but the items were all different, and it mixed things up to make it feel more unique than pretty much any Zelda game at the time. It really felt like a big console Zelda game experience, shrunk down and simplified a bit to work on a handheld. And it comes out way ahead because of that. It's a game that stood the test of time. And last but not least, my number 1 favorite Game Boy game, Burger Time. This had to be my number 1 spot. I didn't know this game when I had a Game Boy. I got the cartridge from a used game shop when I had my Game Boy Advance for like $5. I had a thing with buying old Game Boy games when I was back in high school. I didn't even know what Burger Time was. I just liked the box art. Oh man, let me tell you, no game has ever sunk its claws into my soul like this game. I played so much Burger Time. When I got my Game Boy emulation working on my computer, I installed Burger Time. When I got my first cell phone that could run Game Boy emulation, I installed Burger Time. To this day, when I get an emulation device to play with, the first game I play is Burger Time. It's so simple, so silly, it just never gets old to me. It's the kind of game that I could play for 5 minutes or 50 minutes. It's the kind of game I could play over and over again, year after year, and for some reason I still enjoy it as if it's the first time I played it. I think in a past life I was this little burger chef, defending myself with salt, being chased by tomatoes and sausages, stamping giant burger components with my feet for hungry customers. Burger Time is a must-play for anyone into retro arcade games and Game Boys. It's not even optional. What else is there to say? Just look at this thing. It's a little bitty Game Boy. It has that exact retro look of the original, but with some modern improvements to let it play more systems if you're into that. And it's freaking tiny, so you can shove this in any old pocket and bring that retro Game Boy vibe with you wherever you go. This is the only Game Boy-like device that feels like the perfect mix of the classic Game Boy look and feel, while being shrunk down and improved so that it's a device you actually want to shove in your pocket and bring with you, which is what the Game Boy is all about. And that's why, for me, this is the perfect Game Boy. It has every single Game Boy game at the tip of my fingers. I can bring it anywhere in my pocket, and it plays Game Boy games more perfectly than I ever could have hoped. So I'm giving this 8.5 thumbs up out of 9. With a golden thumbs up award of tech dweebish excellence. And hey, why don't you give this video a thumbs up as well if you liked it, or a thumbs down if you hate Game Boys and videos about Game Boys. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite Game Boy games. I'd love to hear from you down there. And hey, why not subscribe? I make silly, sometimes long-winded videos about fun tech toys and computer stuff. I'd love for you to come back and hang out with me again. As always, I'm Tech Dweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.